Well, hello there, how is everyone? I hope you're all well, you amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. It's Friday, baby. We made it through the week. We made it through the week. And you're looking absolutely amazing. Well done. I'm going to get straight into the meat and potatoes as we've got a little bit to talk about. First of all, I'm doing this video. What we're going to talk about in this video is, firstly, I've got to address the exploding microphone situation again, because it's still being pushed as a plausible theory. I just want to talk about that. I would also suggest that anybody who hasn't seen Paramount Tactical's video to go and check that out. Now, I'm not going to show his video because there's clips in his video that will immediately get the video either restricted or whatever. They're just getting so hot on the Charlie Kirk videos that it's ridiculous. But we're going to talk about that and just talk about it in terms of how is it even possible? Is it possible at all? And in layman's terms, I'm going to show you the mic that they use and why I believe that this is not a plausible situation. Now, what I will say is that it's much more of a viable option for somebody to have been close in the crowd and to have used a smaller, more discreet weapon that actually fired a round at Charlie. And I feel that that is possible. And I'm going to show you something later on in the video as well, which I believe is potentially why we haven't seen certain footage from TP USA, you know, the camera that was taken down behind him, because I'm going to tell you now, it's very interesting to see that perspective looking out, because it causes more problems in the Tyler Robinson being the shooter theory than you may have thought of yourself. There is some real big issues with that. But first of all, let's get into this, because I think that this is important. So the mic that Charlie Kirk used, I've seen it attached to cameras. I was trying to find it to show you the actual receiver, but I couldn't bloody find it. But I know it's this one. I've seen it on his cameras, but he's done so many videos, and when you try and scrub through them because they're so long, they jump so fast. But I've caught one still, which hopefully brings this into context. So let's just have a look at this quickly. If you look over to, this is obviously his sound and video guy. He's using like an ATEM to switch a camera switcher and a screen for monitoring purposes. He's got an audio board here, a mixer. And if you look at this here, on this table towards his right hand, above where the phone sits, you'll see two boxes. These two little boxes here. I don't know why my mouse pointer isn't on the screen, but you'll see it up on the table on the right as you're looking at it, and you'll see two boxes side by side. Now, if we switch over to here, this here is the Rode Wireless Pro, and this is the case, the charging case that it comes into. It comes in. And this is what Charlie Kirk used. This is a complete sealed, enclosed plastic microphone with a pinch clip on the back, which is metal, and it has a magnet so you can attach it under your shirt, which Charlie did. Charlie was a creature of habit. Charlie seemed to always wear this on his right-hand side. So yes, he was an absolute creature of habit. And just so you're fully aware of what these things actually are, this here, I'll put it on the screen bigger so you can actually see it. And you've got a transmitter and receivers. The transmitters are what goes on the individual that's using it. That's what picks up the sound. And there's a plug socket on the top that pushes and twists to lock it in place. And that's where you can have a lav mic, which I don't think Charlie Kirk had. Now, what I will say is, before we just... and before we move on, and this is obviously the receiver, and it's got monitoring meters there to make sure that everything is working. And the important thing about this and why they use this is because these have what they call 32-bit float audio. And why is that important? It's important, and why they use this specific mic and not a different one, is the 32-bit float recording enables him not to have... He doesn't need a lab. They're very, very good at picking things up. But they record internally. And that's another important thing that we've got to establish when we look at this unit. Because this unit is about an inch by an inch by about 10 mil deep. It's really, really small and compact. If for those of you who have been around the channel a while, I've used these. I used to use them, when I had the lav mic here. I've used this specific mic. The only thing that I do find is it's really good outside, but it's not so good inside because they're so sensitive. They're very good at picking up ambient noise, and if you aren't in a sound-treated room, they just sound a bit shy unless you use a lav and have it right up here, and it can be quite annoying. But why is this impossible? First of all, you've got him, creature of habit, pins it under his shirt with a magnet. So the unit is going to be facing into his chest. The actual unit itself is facing into his chest with the metal pinch clip on the outside and then a magnet over the top to hold it in place. So... And if you look at the angle of it, it's obviously pointing upwards. But for this to have caused the injury that we see to Charlie, you would have had to have had a directional charge. A directional charge that fired out a projectile that went into Charlie's left-hand side of his neck. That in itself should be enough for anyone with half a brain cell to understand that the physics of that is impossible. You've got a wireless mic unit under the t-shirt here, and the injury comes in here. And I think to myself, well, how on earth, if I move the mic out of the way here, so you've got the mic here, injury here, if I use the other hand, so how on earth does that happen? Do you see what I mean? Physics just doesn't allow that to be true. And also, you've got to think to yourself, in terms of if it was an explosive situation, then how is it that it doesn't damage his shirt at all? If there's enough force to produce a forced projectile into the neck, enough to kill someone in a unit that is relatively small, and again, we're going to get to other elements of this in a second, just to ram this home further. How come it doesn't damage anything? It doesn't scorch, it doesn't burn, or does anything. Now, I know what people are going to say. They're going to turn around and say, because they've seen what they believe is a puff of smoke, you're going to say that there could have been a CO2 canister, some kind of compressed gas unit in there. So then what you're doing, because Paramount Tactical doesn't touch on this, he touches on looking at explosive devices and how they've been used previously by other people such as pagers, but they cause a much more catastrophic situation. This was very contained. It wasn't that spectacular. So again, people go down the route of this was a compressed gas situation. So in that instance, what we know is when Charlie first came into this area, he wasn't wearing it. He didn't actually have this on. And it was later put onto him by his sound guy. And again, you're talking about a unit that is an inch square and not and like that deep. And inside this is an LCD display. It's got the charging unit. It's got obviously the PCB that contains all of the elements that gets it running. It's got the recording unit, the chip that records audio. These have got more inside them if it's a 34-bit recording unit. So you've got a situation where all of these things that you've got, this thing that he's got attached, it's got these things inside it, and what we're saying is we've also got a CO2 capsule inside this that's been put inside there, hasn't affected the use of the product whatsoever, it's still functioning correctly, and this is powerful enough to push a projectile out of the unit, seemingly to come to change direction and go in the opposite side of the neck. So I'm going to turn around and say, if you're watching someone who's pushing this like this is a plausible scenario, you are being mugged off. Honestly, you are completely being mugged off. I apologise for saying that. It is what it is. It's not possible for this microphone unit that is underneath his t-shirt to have caused an injury on the opposite side of Charlie Kirk's neck. It's just physically impossible for that to be the case. Now, I'm not saying that what we've been told is the right story. And that's where I'm going to feed you back into the picture that we saw at the beginning. Just look at this picture for a second. Not that one, this one here. Now, what do you notice? The camera is obviously the camera that they use. This setup is the setup that they use when they do this. So this would have been the exact same setup. There may have been some differences to the mics and what have you, but this is relatively the same. Whenever you look at one of Charlie Kirk's things that give you the view from this camera, which is unusual that we haven't seen this footage. But look, apparently this footage was taken down immediately and it was handed off to the FBI. Why they did that, I don't know. From a legality perspective, what made it, the FBI needed to see it, but you guys in the USA probably know better than me. But look at this view, and what do you notice from this view? What I've learned from looking at this view is how would, right, Tyler Robinson, sorry, just made a fucking name up, just thought I liked that. It's like a amalgamation of the two. I thought to myself, for a start off, Tyler says that he planned this for about a week, right? Planned this for about a week. So how the fuck, right, did Tyler Robinson know where Charlie Kirk's table was even going to be set up? How did he know exactly where this was going to be? Because this wasn't set up a week previously. And I'm thinking to myself, you have got a very, very small window to actually hit him. So you've got to know where his table is set up. You've got to know what direction it's going to be facing. You've got to know which one of these roofs gives you access. And there's no fucking way, hell on earth, is that on the very morning, and this is my opinion, on the very morning that you're planning on doing this, you just take a guess that you're going to jump up on this specific roof and know that you're going to have clear line of sight through the front window of this unit, or to the side, whatever, but through here, through this canopy, and hit him. And I think it would be interesting to see this angle, because you look at what you see from this camera at the back here. This camera, and apparently Candace Owens has seen this. I don't know how accurate that is, what part of it she's seen. But this camera, look at the wide angle, look at what you're seeing, look at that view. And yes, he's going to be dropping down, so you've got more of it, but you haven't got a very big window of opportunity here. So if you're somebody who is not trained, you're not a trained person, you've got some familiarity with shooting, but you don't know where this is going to be set up, you don't know how he's going to be sitting, which way he's going to be facing, where exactly this table is going to be. Tell me how this was all planned, how this was done. Have we got other footage of Tyler Robinson on this specific roof at another day, like days before? Because that's what you need. You need to see more. The planning. When he said he'd been planning this for approximately a week, what went into the planning? We've been told that he'd not been on this campus before. Well, not been on this campus before, but yet he just happened to be able to get onto the very roof that gave him the exact vantage point that he needed to slot through this fucking letterbox and ping him straight in the fucking neck and kill him. That's why I feel that it makes a lot more sense for there to have been someone in that image. Obviously not this one, this was Texas. But in this image here, for somebody to be much more likely around and closer to take that shot. Let me know what you think. But again, if you're listening to content creators, and look, this ain't... people want to earn money, don't they? People create content to earn money, and certain things earn money. But if you want to get to the truth, there's certain things that just ain't going to get you there. And believing that this was some sort of CO2 projectile fired from that mic unit into his neck, I'm telling you now, you're not getting anywhere with that. You're not getting anywhere with that. You're pissing into the wind. Love you all, and I'll catch you all in the next one.